activated. Your weekly football fix kicks off now.
You can follow the LFC Total Red Football Podcast on X, Facebook, YouTube and TikTok.
LFC Total Red Football Podcast with myself, Kings. Tonight we're going to be talking about Andy Robertson potentially going to Tottenham Hotspur, maybe not. We're going to talk about Arne Slot, obviously still under immense pressure at LFC with results going the wrong way, including the weekend just gone, Bournemouth 3-2 loss. And we're going to talk about the Champions League final league game in the first phase. Now, I was going to say Qarabağ, but I've been told it's something else. So
Qarabağ.
Qarabağ. That's what we're going to call them. Qarabağ for the rest of the show, so we'll stick with that. Joining me tonight, yeah, definitely. Joining me tonight, we've got Kev, James, and Neil. Kev, obviously, good to see you back. Regular on the show every week, so nice to see you here again.
Yeah, nice to be on. Great. We've been great so far. I've given me missus the idea that Valentine's Day is Brighton away, Brighton in the FA Cup at 8 o'clock at night. That's gone down like a lead balloon. So, yeah.
It is at night. I mean, you could treat it good in the day, and then, it's at night. It's like, it's fair enough. It's 8 o'clock. It's nearly finished by then.
Nip down to the coast, some fish and chips, and then you can go to the pub and watch footy.
My actual married wife or my actual bird that I like to go and watch. Do you know what I mean?
It's not much competition there, is there?
No. Mighty Reds always win.
We also have Neil. It's been a few weeks, Neil. How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. I've been busy last few weeks, so it's been a bit tricky. Wanted to come on tonight. I'm hoping it's going to be kind of therapeutic. After
we shall see.
It's just painful at the moment. You think you made a big stride forward, and then you seem to take 2 steps back. So nice to be back.
Yeah, it's good to have you. And finally, we have James. We haven't seen for a while. It's lovely to see you back on the show, James, and I hope you're well.
Yeah, all good. Head of the Kev Appreciation Society, as you can see by the title
I think we also need to get T-shirts and everything now. You've started this.
I've been wanting T-shirts for a while, but Kev would kill me if I started ordering T-shirts. But yeah, it's good. I mean, it's good to be on because I think I need some catharsis with what's going on. I think I need to get, just an outgoing of things because it's the mentality of things that's bugging me at the moment. It's the mentality thing. So I need to catharsis a little bit, and that's why we've got you here, Kings, to sort of help us with therapy, Liverpool therapy.
I'm sure you and Neil are going to be so happy and benefit from all the cathartic help that we're going to give. Me and Kev are going to sort out for you tonight, okay? Right, okay then. So we'll start off and we'll look back, unfortunately, a defeat. Now, me and Kev have talked in the chat and joked along the line. They're on the unbeaten run. Liverpool, it wasn't the best unbeaten run in football by any stretch, but that went at the weekend with a 3-2 loss, late winner. It felt similar actually to the first game of the season against Bournemouth, where it was 2-0, 2-2, and then kind of, okay, Liverpool got the benefit the other way with late goals. Bournemouth did it this time, snatched it. Kev, as I said, this run's come to an end. I think, as we've spoke about, it wasn't a great run anyway. It was kind of papering over some of the cracks in a way because people were using that going, well, we're not losing. Now there's a loss. The pressure's increasing even more on Arne Slot, isn't it? I can't hear you. You haven't got your mic on.
That's part and parcel of being at this club. When you're at a big club at Liverpool, like Liverpool is, pressure's on you if you don't win. And I'm not being funny, but this is a Bournemouth side with a depleted Bournemouth side with players missing through transfers or injured. So there's no excuse. And the worst thing that happens is we start with Gakpo instead of keeping the same team that started against Marseille. Now, for whatever reason, that doesn't help. And then we have Van Dijk doing his perfect impression of Kanate. us all feel as though he is still around the team with the first goal, and it's just shoddy. It's coming. It's disbelief and frustration. I can't put my finger on it myself. I think the players are not playing to the level, as I've mentioned before. Nowhere near that what they should be. There's no kind of leadership at the minute. There's no one who's willing to take it, push through, and try and make things happen. We see little bits, fits and starts, but that's about it. But the pressure's always on. And yet again, we have another manager blaming the wind down on the south coast. It must be horrific down there because, we have issues with wind. We had it with Klopp. We now got it with Slot. So, that must be a fundamental factor that we didn't take into consideration in our aims when we sat down with the team to go through our tactics. I thought Alisson was shoddy on set pieces like he always is for me. I think it's a weakness that he has. He should have the physicality within that box when dealing with it. But yet again, we prove why we have this inability in defending. And I don't know what else I can say because I've said it all before, and it's getting to the point now where I want to see certain things happen. I want to see the manager take leadership and try and force his way through and find a way of tactically going forward. I thought he found a way of playing away from home with that performance in Marseille. It was a lot better than what we'd seen in the previous games. But as Neil alluded to, we take one step forward and take about 25 back. But it's as though we're set up for a cup team. This feels like a cup team over and over again. And that's why madness in what I say. We have more chance of winning the Champions League than what we do of actually getting top four in the Premier League because we're not consistent enough. So
yeah, fair enough. Neil, did you get a chance to watch the game at all? What was your thoughts on the overall performance, the whole game? Because losing it at the death like that happens. Liverpool have beaten teams like that. They've lost teams like that, like they did the weekend. It's just one of them. Sometimes it happens right at the end of the game. It's too late to come back. But the overall performance, what was your thoughts on it?
I thought before they scored, I thought we were in complete control. And I felt after midweek and that kind of opening 20 minutes, I felt fairly confident because it looked like that we could get in at will. And then the defending from Virgil on the first goal, as Kev said, was shocking. And really, out of absolutely nothing, because I thought we were in total command, we've let them into the game. Then we've showed a real lack of game intelligence. Leadership, I think, is a word that we're going to hear a lot tonight. When we're down to 10 men, there's a simple solution to that. Kick the ball in the corner and give them a throw-in. And that's just basic. I mean, that's just amateurish to not do that, and for it to take 6 or 7 minutes to make a substitution. So we've made things almost impossible for ourselves. Totally our fault, rather than the quality of what they had to offer. Because as Kev said, they were depleted, and they have been for a while now. Then I thought we upped it again, and we did quite well, and got back to 2-2, and it looked to me like there was only one team that was going to go on and win the game.
Yeah.
And then I felt that we just lost the midfield completely, and I think that coincided with the changes, possibly with McAllister going off and then Szoboszlai going to right back. And how many times in that last 10, 15 minutes did they just run through? You could have driven a bus. You could have driven 3 buses through that midfield. So it was a really frustrating game because I felt that all the issues were caused by ourselves. And that does come down to leadership, and it does come down to mentality. So it was really, really disappointing. I do think the quality of our play has improved in the last 3 to 4 games. If I'm honest, I thought we were good against Marseille. I thought in spells we were good on Saturday. I thought against Burnley, we missed on another day. We'd have won that game easily. So I think there has been progression in terms of our creativity, but we have this really soft centre that probably does come down to this mentality and leadership issue. So it was really disappointing for me because I felt after that first 20 minutes I was really, really confident, but then we just caused our own problems.
Yeah. Now, James, the situation wasn't helped. Obviously, Konate wasn't playing due to personal issues. So they bring in Joe Gomez, who we all say is made of glass. And that shattered quite quickly. He was taken off, injured, replaced by Endo. So that obviously upset the defence even more than it does anyway. I mean, what is Endo? 2'4", playing in defence. It's like he's not the tallest guy. He's very tenacious and he doesn't, let much get past him. But at the end of the day, he's not a central defender like Van Dijk is. So, obviously that didn't help. But the game overall?
I don't think that makes much diff. You can't really pin any of the goals on Endo.
No, I wasn't. I'm just saying that obviously just is another cog that's taken out of the team because Konate wasn't in. Yeah. They bring in Gomez and then he has to go out as well. So it's not ideal.
But I think that it does demonstrate there's a level of leadership across all levels of the club because Kirkers is short. Frimpong is short.
Yeah.
We got two very short fullbacks. So if you start bombarding things in the box and stuff like that, you're having to rely on your defensive midfielder, which is Gravenberch. You're bringing on Endo, you've got Van Dijk. I think we create ourselves problems. And I like Kirkers, I like Frimpong. I think they're really good players. But why didn't we get a backup centre-back? Gahey was the plan.
Yeah.
Why didn't we get a proper defensive midfielder? Like someone that can really sort of boss it. And I think we signed opportunities that came available in the summer. Not all of them needed to be sold. Not everyone needed to be brought in and stuff like that. I think the problem is we spent a lot of money. We've been unlucky with a few players. Ekatike's unlucky. Isak's been unlucky. First taking time to settle. That's to be expected. But my issue is who inspires you that you can run through a wall?
Yeah.
Who is the person that makes you think I am going to, with the last 5 breaths I've got in my legs and lungs, sprint down and stop this counter-attack? Because that mentality's gone. We've lost too many games in the 90-plus minute because they just don't have the fight in them anymore. So Slot doesn't have to be the one that motivates people. He is in charge and he's an analytical person, but surround yourself with skills you don't have. Who in his backroom team, because it's not Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, is going to inspire those players to keep pushing? Because if he's the tactical man, if he's the brain, who's the motivator? Who's the volume? And because Slot's not that. Van Dijk's not that. I have a lot of respect for Van Dijk, but he is not a bellow and drag him by the... He's a thinker as well. He's tactical. So my issue at the moment is they're becoming weak mentally because nobody is inspiring them to do so. And the only person who I think has that never say die mentality currently within our starting 11 that can sort of drive it forward is Andy Robertson, and we're talking about flogging him to Spurs.
Yeah. Doesn't make any sense.
And if you think about the second half against Bournemouth, when he came on, we were attacking.
Yeah.
And we controlled the game, and I think they didn't have any shots until we equalised, and then we just fell apart because mentally we're not there. It's all mentality and it's all strategic leadership for me.
I also think that we've lost our identity of how we play. That identity is diluted during the course of the season to the point now it's extinct. And you see that with the pressing, you see that with when we counter-attack, corners were the most feared for oppositions to have. And we used to be like the Red Arrows. That's gone. That intensity's gone. I agree. The last couple of games, we've got an intensity back that has been missing quite a lot, considerably in games. The 2 games against Leeds by a mile. And I don't know, and it goes to what James alluded to. There's no one there to. We have an ignition, but there's no one to ignite it to get it working, possibly in a way that should be. We're not fluid in anything, and it goes above Arnie for me as well, because the hierarchy have allowed us to be short in certain positions. We're relying on someone we found in training who could actually do a defensive midfield role in Gravenberch, and he hasn't been able to repeat that kind of this season. We end up with 4 players. We end up with half our back 4 midfielders playing in those positions because he feels as though he's very Dutch, is Arnie, in the fact that he's very brutal in what he says, but it comes across as though he's arrogant and he has this kind of brutalness and coldness to it, and some of it may be correct, but he's not trusting the likes of Ramsey, and it comes out in what he says in his about him pre-match as well. I don't want him, there's better players there. I thought it was more of a chance of him laying a thing down to him to go, look, prove me wrong kind of way, and he hasn't. And I think the frustration with Liverpool fans is we have these players on the bench and we're crying out for a right back to be playing, and we end up moving our best player so far this season, albeit he has his own issues and has caused us problems as well, moving to a right back position. That then causes us further problems that we've got. But there's a lot of factors that aren't helping this, and he hasn't been able to find anything at all that is beneficial to us. Getting Heitinger back was an option I thought should have been looked at and reviewed. But then I think also from the flip side of that, I think the hierarchy don't want to spend more money on the backroom staff that may be not here from next season on. So there's a bit of politics going on as well that we're unaware of, possibly. I may be putting 1 and 1 together and coming up with about 16, but it feels as though they don't want to be putting too much into this and spending any much money, and we'll just deal with what we've got. But the problem is, that's great on paper, but we've got players that are made out of Quaver, worse than Thiago, and it's showing, and it's showing where our weakness is, even more so for me. So I think the lack of identity, the lack of intensity, and everything that James and Neil have said is the reason where we end up being where we are at the minute.
The LFC Total Red Football Podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts from. Also available on your smart speaker, or you can watch us on YouTube.
Obviously, when we lose against teams like Bournemouth, who are struggling themselves, it doesn't look good for Liverpool, who are league champions. But we've had such an indifferent season, it doesn't actually surprise me. They're talking about other teams like, let's say, them up the road, United. Last season was dire for them. Last few seasons haven't been great. They've had a new manager bounce already in the last. The results against Arsenal, can't knock it. At the end of the day, they've gone to the league leaders. They've won. They're now above Liverpool in the league, and I'm thinking they're having a so-so season, and yet they're above Liverpool in the league, and they're the league champions, supposed to have spent all this money and just excelled, hopefully, this season, and yet it's gone so badly wrong. And that means, obviously, we've discussed, Kev, that Arne Slot is under pressure. But what's Neil and James? What's your thoughts on it? Neil, come to you first. How much pressure is he actually under? Is it imminent that something might happen, or do you think, me and Kev have discussed again, it could be the end of the season? It may pick up and last even longer than that. What's your thoughts on it?
I think the end of the season is probably most likely. Unless we take a huge turn for the worst again. I'll be surprised if I don't think they want to make a change mid-season. But at the same time, I don't think, as Kev said, they want to invest any further, especially in the management team, and maybe not even any in any players, even though we need them. So I think he is under pressure because I think the fan base has turned. The fans have voiced to a certain extent, their disappointment. It's never good to hear your own fans doing that.
Yeah.
But I think we run the. I don't think he's the only problem. I think there's a collective thing that you look at the hierarchy. Mistakes have been made. I don't think any of us probably we were all so giddy about the signings that we'd made that I don't think anyone really foresaw that we might have a bit of an unbalanced squad, and we may be short in certain areas. So I think that's been an issue. I think the manager has been an issue, and he has caused his own problems with his refusal to use some of the squad players, your Endos, your Chiesas, and trusting the youngsters as well, because I have no doubt if Klopp was still manager, the likes of Nioni, Engamoa would have played a lot more than they had, and I think Engamoa, he did all right again when he came on. So I think he's made mistakes, and as I say, for me, those first 70 minutes, the fact that we were drawing that game was on the players and mostly on the captain, because he'd been so lethargic in terms of his defending. But I did think that what we did in midfield, when the obvious change was a straight swap, Calvin Ramsey, right back, Bosch, and then you leave Szoboszlai, who is your most mobile and athletic player, in the engine room. And so he's made mistakes all season, and he made another mistake there. So he's at fault. And then I think the players are at fault. And, they've got to take some... I'm not saying that they're not going out and not trying, but I thought Virgil's performance was awful. On the first goal, the third goal, and he's not been great. Konate's been off. McAllister's been off. Salah, again, he was really poor on Saturday. So I think there's, everyone needs to take responsibility.
Yeah.
Now, whether the likes of Van Dijk, Salah, McAllister would be different with a different manager. It's possible, but I think everyone's at fault. But ultimately, it will be the manager is the one that goes, and I think it will be the end of the season, and that might mean that we don't get top 4, top 5, but we shall see.
Yeah. Now, James, myself and Kev on previous episodes have said if Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes are planning to at least get top 4, it's potentially top 5 this season with Champions League, we're not sure, then they're just hovering around. They're not going to invest too much. They're not going to change anything like we've all said. So if they're just hoping that we're going to maybe meander into the top 4 or 5 and get Champions League, I got the feeling that they're underestimating what's going to happen here, because it does seem that they're struggling. And what they now is it 6, just dropped below Chelsea as well, and it's not looking good at the moment. Now again, they can go on a run of 3 or 4 wins. You'd like to think, because it's Liverpool FC, but they don't give you confidence they're going to do that, do they? And the 2 above Arne Slot, I've got pressure on them now as well, like the lads have said, haven't they?
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to give a weirdly technical answer based on culture. So, as we know, there's so many stats out there. I think 80% of people leave jobs because of their manager, because of the person that's in charge of them, and they don't connect and stuff like that. Now, all of us will have left the job at some point and thinking, right, I'm going to have to get out because I hate the people here. And I want you to remember how hard it was to get up in the morning, how hard it was to put your boots on, how hard it was to drag yourself into work, how hard it was for you to perform at your best, because you knew it was over, really, and you were just waiting until you got that other job or until you got that offer letter through, and you're just dragging yourself through that. That's happening to Slot. He knows it's over. It's happening to the players. They know it's over. Everyone's saying, the Champions League, and we're built for that. We're weak mentally when it comes to the 11th hour and running, so we're not ready for that. So we're in this situation where every day, the weight, the pressure, it feels heavier. The culture's getting worse. People are more and more disengaged. So we're in this weird situation now where actually there needs to be a circuit break somewhere. And without a big personality, and by that I mean a big leader, circuit breaking people and actually getting them connected in a different way, you're going to have a real struggle. Kev made a really good point earlier, which is Slot comes across as arrogant in how he speaks, but he's not. And he's not arrogant and he's not confident, because if he was confident, he'd be putting trust in these young kids. He'd be making them go out and play and trusting that they're invincible. But he's so scared at the moment to make a mistake because he knows he's on this line that actually he's crippled by his own indecision as well, because Ramsey's an obvious choice. Build the guy up and say, look, prove it. Prove me wrong. Be exceptional. But he's not doing it because he's so scared that actually if it goes wrong, it's him. And we've created this culture of fear at this moment in time within the players, within this, and everything's getting heavier and heavier and harder and harder. And you can just, that's why so many draws, because they just can't mentally get themselves past into that killer mindset. It's just survive. So if we start to break it down, can we hang on and get Champions League? Probably not.
That's
the
a
big
disaster,
question,
though, isn't it?
No, the
That's
big question is, can we get what we want as a club? Because let's be honest, Mickey Edwards is safe. CEOs, the people in the boardroom, they're always safe, regardless of how toxic they are, regardless of how much dickheads they are. It's always the next level down, the people who are responsible for the people that get their ass kicked. It's called middle managers in essence, to some degree, despite the fact, managers are some of the most popular in the... But he gets the pressure from below and up. And he can either take the pressure or he can't take the pressure. And at this moment in time, because the fan base have turned, he's stuck. Now, I'd anticipate we'd have a bit of a drop. Villa had a drop in the second season to some degree. I wouldn't expect us to necessarily win the league as long as we're taking strides to improve, because we're changing everything. But there's so much disengagement within him and within the players. And then, unfortunately, in the perfect storm for Slot, Zabi leaves. And that's the pressure. And regardless of whether we get Zabi or we don't get Zabi in the future, that's the pressure. That's in a game of Buckaroo, that is a weight. You're talking someone as loved by the fans as Klopp, to some degree, is now available and loves your club. And you've got a manager who doesn't seem like he's in love with your club at the moment. Seems like your club's a big pressure on him. So if you start to break it down from a cultural perspective and a pressure perspective and everything that's going on, I think it's just a matter of time. And I think it'll be quick.
So do you think it'll be before the end of the season?
I think it'll be probably this week.
At the end of the week. Wow.
Regardless of Qarabağ.
No. It's interesting because as things stand, there's different options, aren't there? So your first option is you bring someone else in on your coaching team that can add that kind of that is the motivator. Yeah. And I hadn't really considered this over the last few days. Yes, I think we lack leaders massively on the pitch, but I hadn't thought that we could kind of supplement the coaching team with a motivator. So it looks like we've turned that option down, because we've chosen not to bring Heitinga back, who I believe was quite popular with the players and quite a good link between them and the manager, or head coach, I should say. The second option is, so that's one option, we've turned that down. The second option, you bring in players that we need to fill some gaps in the squad to try and help, Slot and his coaching team. And I think we're turning that opportunity down because it looks like we're not prepared to do anything. In fact, we might weaken ourselves further on, with letting someone go that we possibly shouldn't at this stage. And then the only other option is that he does go. And I think you could well be right, James, but I think if we don't do any of those three, we are sleepwalking into a disaster.
Yeah.
So something's got to give, and I think we've turned down the first two options, so it may be that happens.
Yeah,
and it's nothing against Slot for me. You've got to remember, this is the top table, the highest pressure, and 1 foot wrong can slide down a mountain. And it's a perfect storm in essence. He anticipated to probably take a step back. It's a bit of a perfect storm. I think if Xabi wasn't available, I genuinely think if Xabi wasn't available in the marketplace, in essence, even if he's not actually available, if he wasn't in the marketplace, you'd still have a 50-50 fan base. And that's recoverable. I think, especially with the 3-2 losses, every time he's moved Szoboszlai into the right back position, we've ended up losing the bloody game because we've lost all the drive in midfield. Like, I think he's now getting questioned tactically, defensively. You sacked your set piece coach. Nothing else is lining up. I think he's stuck.
Yeah, he seems to have got himself into a corner, really, hasn't he? So it's hard to fight your way out of that when you're trapped.
But I don't think it can all be put on him.
No,
because,
that's fair.
As I say, I think there are other things that could help. So if we suddenly brought in Semenyo and Gahey, I suspect we'd be a better team than we are currently. So they're not helping him either. And my understanding was that when you've got a sporting director, that's there to look at the long term for the club. So you're not necessarily buying players for the manager. You're buying players for the long-term strategy of the club. So the excuse that we're kind of alluding to that, you know, they don't know whether he's going to be there or not, it shouldn't really make that much difference in terms of player recruitment if the model works correctly. So I think he's being hung out to dry a little bit, to be honest.
You can follow the LFC Total Red Football Podcast on X, Facebook, YouTube and TikTok.
We've alluded to it during the show, potentially weakening the side. Now, I might adding to it by Andy Robertson potentially leaving. Now, I'm going to come to you first, Kev, because if Andy's, well, not even if he leaves, because it seems to be in doubt now that whether he's going to go. One, I think it's foolish to let him go. He's only got a few months left of his contract, and I understand it's a World Cup year. He wants to keep fit and be ready to go, ready to play for Scotland, the World Cup. No problem with that whatsoever. He's got a few months left on his contract. If he goes, Kerkez is going to be promoted to number 1. And specifically for you, Kev, this question is number 2 is going to return from Roma, and that's going to be Kostas Tsimikas. And I know he's your favourite player, so that's why I've come to you about it. What are the club thinking, potentially letting Andy Robertson go and maybe making that change? You know, it's madness, isn't it?
It's foolish. You lose someone, as James alluded to, who's got the leadership and the desire when he does come on, and that seniority on the field that can do stuff with us. If we're moving Kerkez to number 1, which I don't think he's ready yet, and although with the last couple of games he has played all right, he's still a bit rough in playing this. Whether it's the formation, whether it's the way he's playing, you know, the second goal he switches off for whatever reason, and he comes in and scores. So there are a few factors that make that. If you then tell me that if Kerkez gets suspended, injured, that we have to bring the only person that goes to a Greek wedding that would find a carpet with a plate in Costas, then I'm sorry. He's not even getting a game at Roma. That says it all to me. But I do think, as the lads have indicated, they're going to let him hang out to dry, and they'll go, right, well, we'll bring loans back, and we'll bring Costas back. There's your left back. There's part of that's part of your defensive. It's not beneficial. The more you dilute this leadership from the team that was presently there, it's going to have a bearing effect on this team going forward. So I talk about the identity already being diluted. This is just going to null it completely. We're playing, you know, let's get things right. We've got Virgil playing every single game of the season, and we still haven't found a backup for when he does actually retire. Now, I'll be honest, Virgil shouldn't be playing the amount of games that he is playing at the minute. There's no reason. Yeah, he's great. He'd be even better if he didn't have to play every minute of the game because he's the only defender that is actually good enough in the squad. But as the older you get, the more susceptible you come at defending. And all how good Virgil is, he still hasn't been at the level that he was last year or the year before that. So there's always going to be a drop off. But we're not even getting rid of that. I think it's infuriating, and it's absolutely. I'm pulling whatever hair I've got left on my head out when you're hearing things the likes of, oh, well, Robbo's gone, and you go, why? What? That only makes sense if you're bringing someone else in.
Yeah.
As Neil said, but then a part of that of, well, we're not bringing anyone in because of X, Y, and Z. It'll also be, it's difficult to get these players in January. No, sorry, we've done it before. There are deals to be made. It's just that you're reluctant to actually make those deals apparent and to benefit, because you feel as though if it does, then this could turn the ship slightly in favour of Slot staying, in which the hierarchy don't possibly want at the minute and want to ease into another managerial role. But going back to the question, it'll be absolutely detrimental to this team if you lose someone of the qualities of Robbo off and on the pitch.
Yeah. James, do you think this is Andy Robertson pushing this because he wants to keep playing as much as he can because it's a World Cup year for him, and obviously now they've qualified, his attitude is obviously I want to go there as fit as, or is it the club kind of like, I can't see the club, pushing him out with a couple of months to go anyway. At the end of the day, his contract's up. So if they want to let him go come June or July, he's gone anyway. It doesn't make sense to push him out now. So I believe it's possibly him that's maybe looked at this. Whether it comes off, it's a different thing, isn't it? But do you think it's him?
I think probably, because I don't. I was watching the players against Bournemouth. Like Ekatike is engaged, Wirtz is engaged. Yeah, they're a bit lethargic in how they stop, start, play, and run. But everyone else, Gakpo, what the hell has happened? He looks scared to touch the ball, like petrified. Salah decides not to shoot at any point and just pass the ball by dinking it to the far post. It's like they're making active negative decisions. And it must be a terrible place to be. I think Robbo just thinks, regardless of who comes in, I'm not getting a new contract, so I might as well go.
Yeah.
Get a 2-year contract at Spurs. Bosh, I'm in the Premier League. I've got the World Cup. Everything's peachy. I'll get my one final payday and I'll step up from that perspective, because I don't think he believes we're going to win the Champions League. Do you think if he thought we were going to win the Champions League, he'd be going, oh, yeah, fuck it, I'll go to Spurs? Nah, not a chance.
Well, yeah, this is it. Neil, the pressure that Thomas Frank's under at Spurs, they actually have got quite a lot of defenders there. So I don't even know if he'd go there and be a regular, to be honest.
Yeah,
maybe he wants to maybe bring him in for experience. I don't know, but it just seems a bit of an odd move, I think.
Yeah, I know a lot of Spurs fans, and they don't like Andy, or they never liked Andy Robertson. I think he got sent off at their place, didn't he, a few years back? I think that was in the game that Harry Kane should have been sent off, but there you go. I think they see similar things in him that probably we do, that he's past his best as a player, but he can add a lot of value to the other players around him in terms of leadership, and they've got a lot of young players, so they probably think that he could complement them quite nicely. But like you say, they've got, I think Ben Davies is injured. I think Udogie has been injured, so there's not. If Udogie's fit, you would have to think that him or Jed Spence would be the first choice left back. So there's no guarantee. I think for him it would be jumping out of the frying pan into the fire a little bit, because that's pretty toxic there at the moment from how it appears. But for me, I think he should be able to play enough minutes over the next 4 months at Liverpool to mean that he keeps ticking over and he's relatively fresh for the World Cup, which is probably where his his worry is at the moment. He's probably not played enough. I do agree with Kev. I think Kirk has improved. I think 1v1 he's doing really, really well in duels. But I think there should be more opportunities for Andy Robertson to play than possibly he's had. And again, I think that might come down to a couple of things. Pressure from above. You've got an £40 million left back. He needs to play.
Well, that's Costa Simicast, that one, £40, isn't it?
Yeah. Poor Costas. £40 million left back. He needs to play. And I think he probably lost a bit of trust in Robbo last season because he did have some dodgy old games. In terms of Costas, I think Costas has served his purpose for Liverpool. I think he was brought in as a £12 million left back in 2020, and he was a backup left back. I think at times he's not been great, but at times I think he's been competent in when he's deputised. Unfortunately, his best spell, he got injured. I think he was pushed into Klopp, wasn't he, against Arsenal, and did his shoulder.
Yeah.
So for me, Costas was a fine. It was a perfectly good signing for what we signed him for. He did okay for us, but bringing him back and letting Robbo go with everything that Robbo can offer in and around the dressing room just seems, it's a step back and would be stupidity.
I know Paul Joyce came out yesterday and said, as things stand, it looks like he's staying at Liverpool. So obviously the transfer window's open for another 7 days or so. So we'll see what happens there. Just quickly.
Sorry, that did seem to be. I think the reason they're saying it's still potentially open is because there's some debate as to whether Roma will release Simicast without a replacement. And I think they've been quite strongly linked with someone in the Premier League today who is a left back. I can't remember who it was. So if that gets done and Roma get another left back, then we could find that that's back on the cards again.
Yeah.
But again, think about what that does culturally. You're not good enough for this team. Go away. Actually, another player wants to come back, wants to leave. Actually, you come back. It just destroys the whole thing. You'd be better to play Scanlon or ask Owen Beck to come back from his Premier League loan and give him, this is your chance, than bring Costas back. These are the bad decisions that they're making because, and it's his lack of trust in youth to make people feel like they can have a career at Liverpool that I think is ruining it. Because it should be Scanlon and Beck, right, you're number 2, you're going to get a few chances, take it.
Yeah.
But he won't be.
No, this is it. We'll have to see. Now, a quick yes or no from the three of you. Kev, will Liverpool bring, not Costas Simicast, will they bring anybody in during this window? Neil?
No.
No. James?
They're bringing a new manager.
Shots fired.
I reckon it'll be done by the end of this week.
Okay.
I don't know why. I've just got a gut feeling based on how Salah was playing because he just dinked everything to the back post. Like Van Dijk wasn't at the races, Alisson wasn't at the race. It just feels like something's going on.
I do think that Salah's come back and is throwing his toys out of the pram because everyone was giving him loads for shooting all the time. So he's just gone, right, sound. I'm just gonna start passing the ball instead. And it plays.
It's not even passing though, is it?
No,
to the
exactly.
back post.
It's that nonchalant Mo Salah pass that should be me at the end of it, and you should be passing it to me. That kind of mentality. I think there's a bit of tit for tat going on. That I think there's a bit of a playful demeanour with Salah at the minute, and I think we'll see who wins this one. But it's frustrating to watch when you see Salah in that kind of with that kind of language, which you don't actually see all that often, and when you do, it's not nice to see. But
well, here's the thing: if you want to get in the top 4 and you want to have a deep run in the Champions League, what do you need more? You need Salah going with a point to prove.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the best way to give Salah that motivation and a point to prove is to sack Slot. Even if you brought in Gerrard for 6 months, which I'm way against, by the way, I'd rather we promote an academy manager for 6 months. But Salah has a point to prove then. Salah has to, for his own mentality, prove he's still one of the best players in the world.
Yeah.
So how do you
and it
make
was Slot that was holding him
perform?
back. Yeah. Yeah. I get that.
There you go. No, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll sign anyone, Kings?
No. I'm exactly the same as everyone else. Not a chance.
You think
Not Adam Morton for 80 million, which I saw today, which no chance.
No, not at all. They won't bring anyone. They've had their chance in the summer. They messed up Marquis. Now he's gone somewhere else. You know, obviously the rumours were they were going for Semenyo. Had the chance. There was a buyout clause, so there wasn't even a lot of negotiation to a point. It was just a case of how they structured that buyout clause and said, "There's the money," and they didn't bother. So it makes me think, well, they ain't going to now play hardball with another team in January with a week to go. Prices sky high. They're just going to sit on their hands and go, we'll see what happens. And it's like, it's all going to turn to shit.
But
That's
again,
what's going to happen.
like we are bare bones, aren't we, at the back?
Yeah.
We've got Frimpong, who's really a wing back. I like Frimpong. I think he's doing okay. Bradley's out for the season. Centre backs, we've got Virgil, who's overplayed, as Kev said. We don't know when Ibu's going to come back because he's had his something go on in his personal life. Gomez is injured again, and Leone's out for the season. And then the left back. So we
have signed someone.
A red card every time he plays.
We have signed someone. We've signed a centre back today, didn't we?
Oh no, the 21s one. Liverpool.
Ifiani Duwiki.
Was that the Austrian?
Yeah, the Austrian Vienna player.
Yeah, they've signed two really promising ones, I think, but they're not going to be ready, are they? And even Welity Lucky, who has been on the bench, has got injured 2 months with a hamstring injury. So it's not that he would play. He's got absolutely zero chance of playing.
Unfortunate name that is with his injury now. They could keep Robertson, play Kirkes, and stick Robertson as a central defender. He has done it before.
I don't like Robertson.
Yep. No, I'm not saying I do, but that's the way they're thinking. Their mentality is they're not going to bring somebody in, are they?
I'd rather play Grav at centre back.
Yeah.
The only way I'd consider Robertson is if you went to a 3 at the back, I think, and he was the left-sided one. But not for me. I don't mind Endo at centre back. Actually, I think he's quite capable, but it's just not good.
Nat Phillips survives when Endo plays centre back. He just throws himself at the ball.
Is Reece Williams still at the club?
He is.
Oh God,
yeah, he is. Last year, isn't it, Neil? This is last year.
Yeah,
this could be his last chance to impress them.
Yeah. Yeah, he was asked to call back to come off the bench about 3 weeks ago. He's just turning circles that slow.
Like and subscribe to the LFC Total Red Football Podcast on YouTube.
The last thing I'm going to talk about, lads, is the Champions League game this Wednesday. Now, James, what are they called?
Qarabağ,
right. So it's at Anfield. I'm not going to say it's going to be a formality because it should be, but obviously, as we've discussed in the whole show, the way we're playing, nothing is a formality, even at Anfield at the moment. So, you know, they're currently in now the top 8. We talked about last week, they needed a win against Marseille. And to be fair, they played pretty well against Marseille. 3-0 win away from home, moved themselves back into the top 8. They need another good performance to get the points this time, lads, so that they can stay in that top half without having to do the playoff game. So, Neil, I'll come to you first. You know, just what's your thoughts on this? Do you think it's going to be a much changed side, or do you think he's going to go as he normally does? He sticks to his regulars. And what kind of result do you think?
I think he'll stick to more or less the 13, 14 core players that he uses. I think Curtis Jones might come back in because I think he's been on the bench last 2 or 3 games. I think Ekitike will come back in, and I think he'll go as strong as he possibly can. I don't think they're a bad side, so I think they're on course to qualify. I think they're in about 17th or 18th place in in the table. So it's a game we should win. I can't say with any massive amount of confidence that we will win. I've seen people today saying, "Oh, we'll thrash them." I'm not sure we will. So I think a narrow victory will be what we see. I hope we don't, and we see another leap forward. But I think it'll be a narrow victory.
James, your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I tend to agree with Neil. I think they drew 2-2 with Chelsea. They're 18th, won 3, lost 3, drawn 1. We should be absolutely destroying them, but there's no discernible pattern of play for us at the moment. So I think it'll be their mistakes that give us the opportunities to score. Maybe a 2-0, like score 1 and then score another one in the second half. Either that or we'll concede 2 in the first 20 minutes and win 3-2, something like that. But no, we should beat them. I expect us to beat them. And I don't expect it to have any outcome on the difference that I was saying earlier. I think this should just be a paint by numbers, but it'll be tighter than it should be because of everything that's going on.
Yeah. Kev, your thoughts on the game on Wednesday?
Similar to the lads, should be a formality. I expect intensity. I do not want to see me looking at a wall and watching it dry by the way we play, which I think I'm in for. I think it'll be 2 hours of my life that I won't get back, and it'll be a narrow 1-0 win.
All right. Well, at least, we're looking at it in a slight positive, saying, yeah, we should win. That's the only positive I can pull out of this. And then that'll qualify them in the top 8. And whether it's Slot or whether it's anybody else continuing after that, at least they're in the top half and not having to do a playoff game, to see from there. And, we said it last week, I think, or the week before, they finished top last year. I ended up playing PSG. It's like, what a disaster that was, how the way it worked out. So in a way, I'm glad they're not going to finish top, but I want them to start playing at least better because they are going to come up against some top sides, obviously, aren't they?
Some top sides in that bit where we'll probably get anyway.
Yeah.
No, in Arlo, we'll probably get PSG again. I think they're already in, actually, but we'll end up with someone like Man City. I think they're in the playoff at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, I'll be just our luck. The other thing, I was going to finish on that game in the Champions League, but obviously before we're on next, we are going to play Newcastle on Saturday night, I think it is. A late kickoff, I think, 8 o'clock. So just quickly, we'll touch on that. Kev, I'll come to you. Can you see the lads, getting a win against them? It'd be a tough game, won't it?
And this is where I think James seeing that he'll be sacked. I think it'll be based on that game more than anything. That game can go one or two ways for me, and you don't know what Newcastle are going to turn up. We should absolutely pulverise them. Myself personally, I think I'd love to see TK score a hat-trick. Isaac comes off the bench. That would be perfect just to see that. But the way we are, the way things have gone, I'm expecting a hard night. I'm expecting a fractured night from fans, especially if we start seeing midfielders playing in roles that they shouldn't be playing in. Personally, if the intensity and we get beat, those boos are going to be definite, and that will be the results on Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, and he will be relieved from his duties. I hope that's not the case. I'd like us to win. Always nice to play the barcodes, and hopefully we win 2-0.
Neil, your thoughts on the Newcastle game upcoming?
So they've been struggling away from home. I think Bruno Guimaraes and now Joe Linton are both injured. Under the lights at Anfield, you would hope for a ferocious night, but I suspect, depending on how we attack the game, you might not get that atmosphere, because I think that's one of the big things that's really made a difference is we're not giving the crowd enough to to get excited about. So, I think based on that and the fact that they're probably due a result away from home, a draw wouldn't surprise me. A 1-1 draw, even though they've got issues, but then Bournemouth had issues. So we have to get the crowd going. And if we don't do that, then it will be dull and it will give them an opportunity to get a result. So a draw wouldn't surprise me.
Okay, James, I'll finish off with you.
All depends if Konate's back. If we have no Konate, you put Voltemaden between Endo and Frimpong, and you just run Gordon off him, and we get absolutely done. Because he's massive. He's 6'6". He's a mountain. Yeah. He's good in the air. If Van Dijk can't cover everybody, so that's the thing for me. If you don't have Konate back, I think we're in for a real struggling night, because as quick as Frimpong is, and he can get second balls and stuff like that, he's 5'5", Endo's 5'5", Voltemada's 6'6".
When you think of actually, now you've said it, you think of some of our squad. There is McAllister. He's not the tallest. Salah isn't the biggest. Then you've got Frimpong. Well, he's smaller than them two, definitely. You're saying there's Endo. So if you put all them into the side, there's not a lot of height when it comes to defending against somebody like him.
Set pieces, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you watch McAllister's the one normally marking their biggest player as well.
Yeah.
That's what scored to our cost in the Qarabağ.
Why we need a massive DM. If we're going with the small left and right backs, you either need 3 centre backs or an absolute tower of a DM, and then you've got Grav and Soboslai, who are both 6 foot, to go in, and you've got that strong defensive core.
Yeah, don't disagree.
Yeah, well, obviously there's a lot to unpack from that. We potentially, according to James, could have a new head coach stroke manager by the end of the weekend.
I don't think Zabi would take it if he was head coach. I think he'll only take it if he can be manager.
Yeah,
I think he'll be an interesting.
And there is a difference, isn't there? Because a manager, as Amarin said at United, he's there to manage, not just coach the players and let everybody else do the other things. And there's a big difference between it. And I understand why clubs go down that route now to have more control, but it doesn't always suit the guy coming in who has their own plans and their own way. So we shall see. But yeah, so we could have a big result against Qarabağ or Qarabağ or whatever they call them.
Qarabağ.
Yeah, them, Qarabağ in the Champions League. That'll hopefully keep them in the top 8. We could really do with a good result against Newcastle at the weekend in the Premier League to get them back to winning ways quite quickly. We'll discuss this all next week. I want to say a huge thanks to Kev, Neil and James for coming on and chatting about Liverpool FC in this edition of the stream. You can watch us on YouTube. You can like and subscribe. You can always watch us on TikTok also, or you can listen to the audio version on Spotify, Apple, Google, and wherever you get your podcast from. So like I say, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening. Join us next time for more LFC Total Red Football Podcast.